Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Hot Mic with Lady She podcast. I am the host, Lady She. I am super excited about Hot Mic with Lady She presents. She is my SHERO series. It has been going amazing. Thank you so much to every guest that I've had on thus far. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone who has left comments. If you have tuned in and emailed me and you connected with people who have come on, this is what this platform is all about. Here at Hot Michael Lady She podcast, we are here to encourage, to empower, and to educate. And tonight we will do nothing less than exactly that with my queen for tonight. The number 9 queen for tonight is Miss Tab Manning of Women Empowerment. Excuse me. We Win LLC Women Empowerment organization that she has built out in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to bring her in right now. I'm super excited. She is also from my hometown. T for life, baby, out here. Regardless of where you move, you are still Tigers for life wherever you go. So I'm excited. Let's make sure you tag somebody, share this live. Come on in, ask your questions, share your comments, give some encouragement. It's not easy speaking in front of people, especially live, y'all. So, bring your good energy in. It's a good vibes only, and let's have a good time. Gonna bring her in. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I am awesome. Hi, Tab. What's going
Lady
on, girl?
She. Lady She. Yes. I am here on a
Let's
Friday
do it.
night. On a Friday night on
Listen,
a hot mic with the Lady She podcast. Let's
listen.
do this.
It's a hot night. It's a hot mic. It was 75 degrees today in New York, child. So
What?
yes, it was hot like
Global
fire
warming,
today.
man.
But
Global warming.
that was hot for us,
Right.
not for y'all. But yeah, that was hot for us.
Man, it was cold here actually. This weather's crazy because I tell you, one Saturday I was in the park doing yoga. It was 75 degrees, and then the following Saturday it was like 35 degrees.
Yep.
I was like, "What is happening?"
Trust, I be knowing. Clearly, we don't control any of this.
For
Clearly,
real.
clearly, how we have the weather every daggone day, the same amount, the same degrees, but it's an eye to beholder. So we thankful that we still here, Lord. Thank you, thank
That's right.
you,
That's
Amen.
right.
So I am excited. I was just sharing with the people my excitement. How amazing this series is going. I just want to thank everyone thus far. These women have been amazing. I love being poured into. I always say I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So I'm just excited for tonight. I shared on my post that, when I looked at the number 9, God, I don't know. I don't know what God is doing, but I was never a numbers dreamer. And before I got engaged, I was dreaming numbers. And that's how I realized the date he gave me for my wedding day. So
Okay.
since then, I've been numbers. I don't know.
Numbers. Okay.
I've been asking for clarity. Like, I don't know what you're doing. You're shifting something. So now I'm trying to embrace it. And so today, after I was meditating, I knew I had a bunch of things to do today. I was like, you know what? Let me see. I was like, Tab is coming on today. I was like, I'm excited about it. I was like, let me see about the number 9. And girl,
Hmm.
I said, yes. It was
Man.
everything. I was like togetherness, faith, love,
Man.
spirituality. And I tagged you in it. I'm like, I'm hoping she's feeling the vibes already before we get on because I'm super excited. I tell you, I'm so godly proud of you. The woman you have become and what you're doing out there in Atlanta, what you're doing everywhere because if you're doing women empowerment, it's touching people you may never see. So
That's
I really
right.
want people to understand how vital, the life coaches are, how vital, those who are being used by God are. You will never meet certain people that you've touched. So, thank you. Thank you, from my whole heart, for accepting my invitation to come on tonight.
Absolutely. And first, I got to say thank you so much. I was definitely humbled and just elated at the opportunity to be able to be on this platform. So, one, let me give you your flowers while you're here right now, because as proud of me as you are, I am mutually as proud of you.
Thank
I
you.
see you. I see you. I mean, you are out here, you're doing it. And I mean, I have never seen a woman work as hard as you do,
I
okay?
get it, bro.
I
I get it.
mean, you go hard, and
I
now
feel
you've added to it with this layer here, with the podcast, and I'm just like, oh my God, like this girl doesn't stop. But
it.
this podcast is so important because, to your point, it extends our reach, right? Like
Right.
God has given us so many gifts and talents,
Mhm.
and He has given us all sorts of experiences, and it's not for us to keep to ourselves, ourselves, but it's for us
Right.
to share and to help each other.
Right.
And so when we have a platform such as this and you allow women to come on and speak about what they're doing, what they have going on, what they've been healed from, and so on and so forth, it's helping every single person that hears this, that shares it, that likes it. You never know what someone's going to drop into your spirit that you just like, oh my
Yes.
God. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? And so I just want to thank you for that. I saw the post earlier today about the numbers, and to like yourself, like I've never really been big on numbers,
Hmm.
but I do understand that it is a universal language for one,
Absolutely.
and then two, like as we think about our Bible, numbers are very significant, right? I
Hmm.
mean, numbers like 40 and 21
Hmm.
and 7 is, but every number has a significance to it. And so when I saw your
Absolutely.
post about number 9, I was like, wow, because I don't even think
Yeah.
I knew that about the number
Hmm.
9. So
Hmm.
again, God makes no mistakes. There's a reason
Right.
why I was supposed to be the ninth person
Hmm.
on this.
Hmm.
Thus far, your podcast has been filled with amazing powerhouse
Yes.
women that have just been
Oh,
bringing it. So salute to all of those sheroes that have been
yes.
here thus far. I can only hope that I do the same thing this evening.
Yes, yes, in your own right. You shall in your own right. And I'm super excited. I had posted in another group, Stand Up Hempstead, because I know you've been in Atlanta a while. You've been out there a long time, but you can't unhempstead yourself, people.
I
I don't
never
care.
will. I never will. You know,
You can't
and
unhempstead yourself.
let me tell you, I've been here in Atlanta now since we graduated high school. So you're talking about 24 years,
Right,
and people still ask me where are you from, and I say New York
right.
because I don't care how long I'm here. They're like, well, you've been there longer than you've been. It doesn't matter. I am from New York. I will always be from New York. I love Atlanta. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah,
I've been here my entire adult life, but
right.
at the end of the day, this is an Apple baby to the core. Okay, it's never going to
Yeah.
change. And it's funny because my husband coined the term. He teases me. He says you're from far Brookstead. He always got to have some sort of mashup, right? So
I'm done.
I'm gonna give the breakdown of what far Brookstead is, right?
Yeah,
So I
tell
was
us, tell us.
born. I was born in Far Rockaway. So many people don't
Right.
know this, but I was actually born in Far Rockaway, Queens. But I lived in Brooklyn for the majority of my lifetime in New York. I moved there when I was about 4 or 5, and I was there until I was 13. And then
Right.
after my mom passed away, that's when I moved to Hempstead. So I was literally in Hempstead, through all of my high school years and before moving here to Atlanta. But he was like, "Man, you from everywhere. We just gonna call you Far Brookstead." I'm like, "Wow,
Yo,
okay."
I love it,
I was like,
man.
"I probably need to
Let's go.
trademark that or something."
Yo, I love it though. That is cool. That is so
Yeah,
cool. But yes, you cannot unhinge that yourself. Look, I love.
Tigers for life.
I'm biased.
Tigers.
I don't care about the other places. You can't unhempstead yourself. Okay, I'm gonna have to
Listen,
make that a shirt for you. I'm unhempstead. Okay, can't
cheerleading
unhempstead me.
massacre. Cheerleading massacre. Remember that?
I can't forget that. What? We got too much for the cheerleaders. But listen, so let's just jump right in. You mentioned your mom. Your mom passed. Bring us through who tap before Tab Manor became Tab Manor. What was your childhood like?
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So, I grew up, like I said, for the most part in Brooklyn, New York. I am on my mother's side. I am the oldest of 3 children. I have a younger brother and sister. We grew up in Bed-Stuy, man, Marcus Garvey Boulevard between Jefferson and Hancock.
Sorry.
Lived lived there for most of my life. Like a lot of us, or like a lot of children that grew up around that time, my mother did have a substance abuse issue.
Mhm.
And this stemmed from, childhood trauma and things that she went through, during her childhood and, through her adult life. And, that was her vice. That was what she, used to numb and deal with her pain, like so many people,
Right.
within our community. And so, growing up in a household with substance abuse, I'm sure many people can relate and many can't. But it's rough,
Right.
There were times when, there was no food. There was times when there was no electricity. There were times when, mom was selling things from the house. There were times when I had to go look for my mother. And so I knew that she loved me. And she struggled with her sobriety throughout her lifetime. But again, that trauma that was unresolved and unhealed just kept it had a hold on her.
Right.
And so what ends up happening is her brother, she had a twin brother. Her brother passed away, my uncle. He was her twin brother, and he
Wow.
passed away in March of 1993.
Mhm.
He had HIV, and once it turned into full blown AIDS, he passed away March of '93. And so at that point, she was clean, she was sober, and she was trying to get her life together. But once she lost her twin, it was a done deal.
Heartbreak.
So yeah, so she
Mm.
she relapsed, and she relapsed like very very heavy. And so one of the most defining moments of my life, and I always share this, is that I had come to Atlanta for the summer. This was after graduating from the eighth grade, and while I was down here, because I knew that she had relapsed, I was constantly worried because I was more like the mom, to just be
Yeah.
honest. Like,
Yeah.
me and my mom were very, very close, but it was me always like, well, mom, we need to do this and you need to do that. And I took care of my brother and sister. I
Mhm.
always say those were my first children because those were
Right.
my babies. But what ends up happening is I come to Atlanta for the summer, and the day after I got home, my mom suffered from a heart attack. Like literally, I got home on like a Friday or whatever day it was, and then the following day she was complaining that she had chest pains or what have you. So I'm 13 years old. My sister is 2, my brother's 4, and I call the ambulance and I say, I think my mom's having a heart attack. How did I know this? From health class. She was
Come on in
pain,
here, Tab.
pain left side of her body,
Side.
things of that nature. So the ambulance comes to get her. They took her to St. John's Hospital in Brooklyn, worst hospital ever.
Yeah.
um, and when we got there, they knew, they could tell that she was an addict. And
Right.
so the way they treat different people, within
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
hospital, she was not someone that they were trying to triage quickly, which
Important.
she should have been. She wasn't
Mhm.
important. She was
Right.
deemed as invaluable because she was another drug addict. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? So, but she came in with heart issues, which means she really should have been fast tracked to the back.
Right.
But that did not happen. We sat there for quite some time just waiting for the doctor to be seen, and she went into convulsions. Her eyes started to roll behind her head, and she passed away. And
Wow.
so I just remember I felt like she was having a seizure, and I called for the nurse, and they pushed me out of the room. They pushed me out the room, and no one ever came back to get me. No one ever came to tell me that my mom passed or anything. I'm just 13 years old, sitting in the waiting area, wondering what's going on.
Wow.
And so what happens is this nurse walks by and she sees me crying at this point, and she's like, "Oh my God." She's like, "What's wrong? Who are you here with?" So on and so forth. And I'm like, I'm here with my mom. She's in the back and I don't know what's going on. And she was like, "Oh my God." She was like, "Is that your mother that died?" She said, "Is that your
Young.
mother that died?"
What
And I
is
said,
happening
"Excuse?"
with the bedside? We need to. There needs to be something done because
I,
I feel like
I
all the
was like,
stories, somebody says the wrong thing. Like what? Who
to a
says
13-year-old
that?
old child, right? To a 13-year-old child. So she was like, "Is that your mother
How
that
does
died?" So I'm like, I don't know. So then she,
right,
she goes to find out information, and it was my mom. And so now I'm at the hospital and I'm having to call people to come up to the hospital to come and get me or whatever. And it was the rest of the day is kind of like a blur.
bruh?
Um, yeah. So but at that moment, because again, we're taught to be strong all of the
Yeah.
time, right?
Come on, Tab.
As children, we're taught that we have to be strong. We're taught that we have to, just kind of take it and keep moving. Even at 13 years old, I remember going back to the house and I wanted to clean up the house before my relatives started coming. I didn't want them to see my mom's drug paraphernalia. I didn't want them to see the dirty clothes. I wanted to try to cover up the situation. Here's me at 13 years
Yeah.
old,
Yeah.
and then also trying to still be protective over my siblings, right?
Mhm.
And so, long story short, what ends up happening is I moved to Long Island with my uncle. My brother and sister moved to Atlanta with my godparents.
Mhm.
I remember leaving Brooklyn. Now, coming from, and it's so funny to me, but coming from Bed-Stuy, do or die, Brooklyn, right? I come to Long Island, and I had this idea in my head that Long Island was just like pretty little suburbs, and it was just going to be
Suburbs.
like Sweet Valley
Like a
High,
cup of tea.
Babysitters Club, like that was my
Here's
idea
your
of
great
Long.
coupon.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm moving to the burbs. I'm thinking I want to be on some Fresh Prince of Bel Air type joint. Girl had a straight rude awakening, okay? Get to Hempstead, and I'm like hearing all of these horror stories about how bad Hempstead is. Like, they gonna cut your face and they gonna jump you and all this and that. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm from Brooklyn, but I'm still scared. Girl, I'm not even gonna lie to
Oh
you.
my
I
God.
when I came to Hempstead High School the first day, I was terrified. It was grown men in there, like with beards,
The
and I'm
facts, though.
13,
The
and I
facts.
was like, what are these grown men doing in this school with me? I was scared. I was in a new environment. I was in a new town. I had been like everything, my entire normal had been turned upside
Uprooted.
down
Uprooted,
and
yeah.
uprooted. And so it was definitely, a challenge, and I had to get acclimated, and I had to, find my tribe and find friends. Um, I remember it's funny because when I think back to high school, Siobhan, I'm sure she's watching, but my best
Hey,
friend,
Shade, I see her.
and and coming from, my uncle, I thank God for my uncle because he was going through his own stuff at the time, but he took me in, right? And he worked all of the time, but he made sure that I, number one, went to therapy,
Mhm.
which I was so grateful
Go
for
ahead.
it to this day,
Shout out
because
to
he
Uncle.
understood that after going through a traumatic experience like that, this girl's going to need some counseling, right? And
Absolutely.
I'm so thankful that I was introduced to counseling and therapy at such a young age, because it was easy
Yes.
for me to, again, go back to it as an adult. But aside from that, I was alone.
Yeah.
And I felt alone,
Mhm.
and I gravitated to Siobhan. I always say I met her through my daughter's father because I had a crush on him, and he lived on her block, and so I was like, oh, I got to be friends with her because I need to get to him.
It was still God's divine connection, honey.
It was God's divine
Yeah.
connection, bringing it all together, right? But me and her, I mean, she became my sister. Her family took me in. And it was having, connections like that that really got me through a very traumatic
Right.
experience in my lifetime.
Mhm.
Because I look back on it and I'm like, I can't imagine, you know, s- experiencing that, and I did it and didn't even realize like the level of what I
What
was
age?
holding
Right.
or carrying at that age.
Mhm. And let me say this. You said something that caught me. You said, we're taught, to figure things out, and we're taught that we have to keep it moving. But to me, and this is just my thoughts, growing up, because, child, I'm gonna write a book one day, but not today, connected to, my upbringing, because a lot that you said is very familiar for me. And what I feel is that we're not even taught that. We just kind of we're naturally in survival mode because we had to. So
Yes.
we naturally protect our parent, even though they're hurting themselves and we're hurt. We naturally do for our siblings because somebody has to. So we're not technically taught that. We
It's like
kind
a
of,
learned behavior almost.
yes, it
Yes.
becomes something that is survival mode. You're on autopilot. You're like, okay, we gotta eat. I'm gonna run to the store. You guys stay put. Okay, we need clothes. Such and such wears the same size as us. Do you understand what I'm saying? But we're
Yes.
not even really taught because no one's teaching you anything. Because
You're
mom
right.
is checked out.
You're just learning it on your
Yeah,
own.
you're learning
It's
it
like
on
survival mode.
your own. And what I bring reference to is God, because it has to be some being that's giving you enough
Absolutely.
sense, enough strength to just get up and do it and
Yes.
understand this is a need. So let me get it done, and no one will know that my mom didn't do it. Okay, my
Yes.
mom is gone. I'm hurting, but I can't let people see the house like this. Do you
That's
understand what I'm
right.
saying? That's not taught. That's
You're
God,
right.
and that is Him preparing you for what you're doing literally right now. Amen.
Exactly.
Amen.
Exactly.
Yes.
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 And you know
That's
what?
good.
I want to add to that too, because so often, especially within our community, and especially us as Black women, we carry this like it's a badge of honor, right? We
Mhm.
carry this like, you know, I'm strong and I'm this and I'm that. And you know what? That's not a healthy mindset to
We gotta
have.
stop
Like,
that.
we should not have to endure this stuff.
Right.
This should not be considered a badge because you were strong enough to go through this. Yeah, it happened, and it did help mold and define and all of that stuff with you, but there's also a very toxic thing that came along with that.
Yeah.
Along with that definedness that you got and that strength that you got, you also got baggage and
Yeah.
trauma and triggers and all of this unhealthy stuff that came along with that strength that you're holding on to. And
Mhm.
if you don't deal with that, then it starts to manifest in your life as you get older within the
That's a fact.
relationships that you're in and all of that stuff. So we have to stop, pushing this mentality that we always got to be so strong all the time, or we
Hmm.
got to always
Hmm.
carry all of this stuff. That's not our job. That's not
Right.
what we were created to do.
Right. Right. And I think, I don't know if I went on a live or just me sharing it, recently, maybe it was in another episode, I said I tapped into that, and I was like, we could be on this forever. So I'm gonna move on. I was like, but we gotta unlearn that whole I'm a strong black woman thing. I said, because some of you are literally broken. And you
Absolutely.
are broken and not just damaging yourself, you're damaging others around you, you're damaging your children because you're like, because I'm the strong black woman. And you know what a strong black woman is? A strong black woman is somebody who can understand I am broken and I do need therapy.
That's right.
I do need therapy and I also need God. I do
That's
need
right.
God, I need therapy, and I also need somebody to hold my hand. That's a strong person who can have
Yes.
self awareness and say, yo, I've been operating like this for years, but it hasn't been healthy for me. So let me
Exactly.
look into that thing. Let me
Exactly.
see what's actually going on. Let me tap into the root of why I seem to be controlling, and that could come from being the child that turned into the mom. We're not supposed to
Exactly.
be moms at 12.
No.
We're not
No.
supposed to be
We're not.
having fun. We're supposed to be getting caught sneaking out the house, or maybe we shouldn't be doing that either. But you
But
understand, being a
being
kid.
kids, allowed to
Yeah.
being children and not to
Mhm.
have to worry about where our next meal is coming from,
Right.
or, or any of that kind of stuff. Like,
Mhm.
because again, growing up in that environment, there's no telling what you're going to get, experience to, or what you're going to be exposed to. You
Right.
just never know.
You don't.
You don't know who's coming in and out that house. You
Mhm.
got to be mindful of the smaller children that's there, because we all know about the molestation and all of that stuff that goes
Yeah.
on. The stuff
Yes.
that we don't talk about, the
Jesus.
stuff that gets swept under the rug. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like, I'm just truly thankful that I've gotten to a place, because even as I think about, going through high school. So I know we're still here, but as transitioning through high school, I always knew that I would be in Atlanta.
Right.
I always knew that I would be here because my family was here. My brother and sister were here, and I remember promising them. They were babies when we were separated, and I was like, when I finish school, I'm coming to Atlanta, and
Yes.
that was
Words have
that was the
power.
goal. I
Yeah.
said, I'm coming to Atlanta. And I remember all of us applying for college, and I had got accepted to Morris Brown.
Mhm.
And Siobhan and Darcel, I think they got accepted to Clark. And so here we go. We all were going Daytona. Everybody was going to Atlanta.
Mhm.
Atlanta was the spot to be. 97, everybody's going, packing it up and going to Atlanta. Plans change.
Listen,
Life
listen.
happens.
Never want to make God laugh. Tell him your plan. That's the
That's
best
right.
thing.
Because life happens and plans
Mhm.
do change. And I remember coming down here, and I was supposed to start school. I was like, I'm not going to start in the spring because I was trying to establish residency here so I can get the, in state um, tuition or whatever.
Yeah.
And by the time January came, I was pregnant with my daughter.
Right.
And so that changed the trajectory of everything, because Morris Brown had to go on the back burner, and
Right.
now me and my daughter's father had to figure out how we gonna raise this kid.
Right.
And so once again, in a situation to whereas we are children ourselves, because I mean, truth be told, at 18, you think that you're grown,
No,
but now
you're
that I
not.
look back on 18, I'm like,
I ain't know
you,
nothing. Yeah.
girl, you
Mhm.
thought you knew,
You thought
but
you
you
knew.
really didn't know.
Yeah.
and
That's a
and
fact.
so, we're forced, not forced, but we put ourselves into this position now where we're parents, and we're trying to navigate through that, maneuver through, still learning ourselves and who we are as individuals. We're still growing and developing, and now we're responsible for this child.
Right.
And we went through lots of different things, because again, we're young. And I want to talk about that for a second too, because I don't know what young people are here, or what people that may have young children that's, in high school age or whatever, but we have to start really paying attention to our children that's in high school in these relationships,
Yeah.
because I remember us being in high school in relationships, and we were in grown adult relationships as children.
Yeah.
We were dealing with domestic violence as
All the way in
children.
love.
We were dealing with
Abuse.
abuse. We were dealing with pregnancies and
Yeah.
miscarriages and abortions and all sorts of stuff as kids.
And
As
alone.
kids and
Only
alone,
hours your
with
friendships.
hiding it from parents and not having someone to talk to and all of that stuff. I mean, and then once again, if these things are not dealt with and, and made aware, if you are dealing with that type of stuff as a young person and you don't deal with it,
Yeah.
it
It
travels
don't. It
with
doesn't
you.
go away.
It does not go
Doesn't
away.
go away.
It doesn't
I
go
don't care if
away.
you move to Atlanta. It don't go away. No,
I
I'm just
saw a
kidding.
post the
I'm
other
just kidding.
day
No,
that
yeah.
said, "Look,
I know.
changing your life is not
That's
going
what
to
I'm talking
Atlanta.
about.
It is not going to change your life." And let me tell you, I live in Atlanta and I've been here for 24 years. Okay, it's about changing in what's in here and what's in here,
Yes.
not
Listen,
your address.
when I saw That thing tickled me so much. I felt,
Girl,
but it's, we're
it's
laughing,
the
but it's the truth.
truth.
It is the
It's the
truth. It
truth.
is the truth. But I'm gonna go back for a second, and then I want to tap into uh the organization. So one of the things that you said was, well, we agreed that you were broken, you were hurting, when you came to Hempstead, and shout out to Siobhan, shout out to Kia too. I see Kia up here, and you migrated to someone that, thankfully, God, He knows what He's doing. You took a liking to someone, and then there was a person on the same block as that person, and then they became your family. So one of the things, and you can just tell me if it's your story or not, but one of the things I realized about younger young ladies who lost their moms early in age, they tend to fall in love quickly. Like when it
Hmm.
comes to the boys, they just migrate, they just connect with the guy, and the guy is everything for them. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes,
you think, how you two are, I know him, I
of
know him.
course.
So do you feel like that's kind of like how you guys came together, because you're like, I need love right now. I need to be loved on. I just want to be loved on. Like, do you feel that's where
Absolutely.
it came from? The brokenness?
Absolutely. Because when you look at it, right, um, you coming into a situation to where it's, again, I'm speaking for myself. I don't want to speak for the masses,
Right,
but I
right.
know
Of
for
course you.
me, um, having that that difficult home situation, and then losing a parent, and then also not having the best relationship with my father either.
Right,
You're
right.
looking for love, you're looking for stability, you're looking for someone that's going to be there for you, right? And then also, if you don't have, I want to make sure I touch on this, but if you don't have an example of what healthy love looks like, of what healthy relationships look like, of what healthy marriages look like, then anything that kind of comes your way that even looks like it's remotely close to love and affection, you want to take it.
It's
It
love.
could be toxic. It could be
Yeah,
whatever the case is, but you like, I'm gonna take this because
yeah.
he loved me. He might knock me upside the head, and I'm not saying he did that,
Right,
but
right.
I'm just saying, we want that family
What
structure.
do
We
you
want that
love?
and we want to be loved. So, absolutely, I know that the loss of a parent, not having that relationship with my father, it definitely had me clamoring and
Yeah,
searching and seeking to always find something that I could attach
has
to.
to.
I've learned over time that I had attachment issues. And so now I try to work from the mindset of connected to everything but attached to nothing. Like I no
Right.
longer want to be attached to anything because that's not healthy. Attachment is rooted in fear.
Yeah, come on, Tab.
When you are attached to
Bars.
someone and you afraid to let them go, and you holding on to them, and it's because you're afraid, and you're afraid that they're going to leave you, or abandonment. I'm
Abandonment.
telling you, I've learned so. This is self-awareness talking now. I have
Come
abandonment
on.
issues and attachment issues and validation issues and all of these things that result from childhood trauma.
Trauma. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So okay, so now the plan was, I'm going to college. I'm gonna be with my siblings. We're gonna do us. I got my friends. We out. We in the A now,
We
y'all.
about to live our best
We
life right
live our
now, okay?
best
Or
life.
whatever we were saying in the 90s, because it wasn't best
No,
life,
it wasn't
but
that, but we about to do us. I don't know. But whatever the
right.
saying was back then, that's what y'all was doing. You had this
Hmm.
plan, you're going to Morris Brown, you're gonna do you find out you're pregnant, you and your significant other are trying to figure things out. Basically, you are children trying to figure things out. What happens from there? Now you're a mom, and how was that trying to navigate through life? Because you're like, I'm in this now. I got to figure
Hmm.
these things out. How did you get to a point where you have one child, and you have another child, and now you're going to college? How did all this pan out?
Whew, so I'll try to give you the short version. But I will say that, again, my first child's father, my daughter's father, we were 18, 19 years old, still very, very immature. We were children trying to be adults. And I don't think that we were emotionally mature enough to work through our issues, to recognize our, our challenges and the things that we needed to work on. We also didn't have the right tools and resources or people to kind of, help us to navigate through this. And
Right,
so
right.
ultimately we end up parting ways. Okay, now I'm trying to like really figure this out, and I ended up like literally jumping from one relationship into the next. Here's a nugget again.
Right.
Listen, Don't jump from one relationship to the next. Take your time to heal, to
Heal.
spend
So
time with
big.
yourself,
Yeah.
because so many times, and don't listen to the mentality of the only way to get over one person is with somebody else. No, that's toxic, okay? And it's toxic because you never get a chance to fully heal, and then
Yes.
whatever you have from that relationship carries on into your next relationship, okay?
Yeah, that's some called
So
soul ties off. That's a
I'm
fact.
trying to tell you. And
Hmm.
so then the next thing you know, I'm in another relationship. I have another child, and I'm like, okay, now I'm ashamed.
Yeah.
Now I'm embarrassed
Hmm.
because here I am, two children, two different fathers. I'm not even 21 years old.
Hmm.
I'm becoming the statistic that I have fought so
Come
hard to
on,
not
Tab.
become.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so in that, my son's father and I were like, well, we're gonna get married. Now
Okay.
we didn't know each other that long. I think we it was a very very short courtship,
Was he in
but
church?
yes.
That sounds like a church response.
And he was, he
We don't
came from
know
a
each other,
very
but you
right.
pregnant? We got to get married, child.
And he came from a very spiritual family, which I love. I mean, I absolutely love my Freeman family. But it was like, okay, I'm gonna make an honest woman out of you, and I'm like, yep, we about to do this because at least I could say I got a husband and a
Right.
baby daddy versus
Right.
two baby daddies, or at least I could say I'm a married woman now. And
Hmm.
so I really believe that we got married for the wrong reasons because
Right.
we
Right.
barely even knew each other. And
Yeah.
so at some point that marriage, it dissolved
Right.
because it wasn't built on a really strong foundation.
Right. Right.
We're really good friends, but it just wasn't we didn't even know each other. We were
Right.
just two people that had a kid.
That's
So now I'm like,
honest. That's honest.
listen, one thing that you will understand about me, for those who are watching, I'm very transparent.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
because I feel like transparency is how people are healed and it's how
It's
people are
freedom.
set free. It's freedom.
Transparency is
And
freedom.
so if anybody's going to tell my dirty laundry, it's going to be me. And
True.
it's only because it doesn't define me and I'm not captive.
Yeah.
I'm not held captive by it anymore,
Right. Amen.
So
Help somebody.
so we fast forward. I'm two kids, 21, 22 years old, divorced
Mhm.
or legally separated, trying to figure out what the heck am I
What's
doing with my
next?
life, right?
Hmm.
What's next? I'm working dead end jobs. I'm trying to make ends meet. I'm trying to take care of these kids. I'm trying to live my best life. I'm trying to be a rapper. I'm trying to do it all, okay?
Right.
Because I'm in Atlanta. I'm
Right.
trying to juggle everything, and I remember like getting close to like 30,
Okay.
and I looked up, and this was around the time that we were in a recession, and I had not been to college yet, so I didn't have a degree. I had been laid off from my job, and I remember like feeling like I was at rock bottom. I was like, I'm getting ready to be 30, and nothing that I expected for my life to be is in place right now.
Right. Right.
I gotta do something different here.
Come on, God.
And so it was at that point that I decided to go back to college. And so I went back to college. Sometimes it's in our defining moments where, things happen because had I not lost my job, had I not been laid off, had I not, had to have a car repossessed and was
Come on,
collecting
Tab.
food stamps and collecting unemployment, I would never have made the decision to go back to school.
Come on, Tab. Help
And
somebody.
so the point I'm trying to make is when you are in a point of where it seems like everything is just going completely wrong or you're at the bottom, the only way you can look is up. And when you look up, that's where your help is going to come. Okay.
Amen.
And it's a reason and a purpose that you're in that position. And I don't want to make it sound like, oh, what you're going through is, it's happening for a reason, but understand that there's a power to turn it around. You don't have to
Yeah.
stay there. You don't have to
Yeah.
stay there. Always in my mind, I said, I'm not going to be a statistic. I'm
Come
not going to be a
on.
statistic. And every time something happened that made me feel like I was turning, I was like, okay, I got to do something. But if
Hmm.
you continue to do the same exact thing and think that you're going to get a different result, that's the definition of
Insanity.
insanity. So you have to get off that hamster wheel and you have to ask yourself, okay, what can I do different that's
Yeah.
going to yield a different result from where I'm at right now?
Right. Right.
And so once I went to school, things kind of started going upward. But see, I had this checklist in my mind, right? Because when you come from nothing sometimes, or when you come from like not poverty, but when you come from, I wasn't well established. So I didn't come with the silver spoon in my mouth. You have this idea of what success looks like to you.
Right.
And so for me, because I never seen, like I said, marriage or home ownership or these types of things. Those were the things that I felt like once I have these things, I'm going to be successful. So I got to have a husband, and I got to have a house, and I
Mhm.
got to have a degree, and I
Mhm.
got to have this title, and I got to put my kids through college, and I got to do all of this stuff. And once I do all of this stuff, I'm going to be happy. And I
Right.
was chasing these things. And
Come
so
on and help somebody, Tab.
I end up, getting married and getting the house and getting the degree. And then both of my children, I'm putting them through college. And I even went as far as, getting ordained and becoming a minister. So now I'm preaching, teaching the gospel, and I'm doing all of this stuff. And yet and still, I wasn't happy.
Right.
And I felt like, why aren't you happy? Like
Mhm.
you got everything that you said you wanted, everything that you set out to do, all these goals you set for yourself, you have them. Why are you still not happy?
Right.
Um, and it was because one, I didn't feel like I was operating in my purpose, and two, although I thought that I was healed and delivered and set free because I was able to stand up in front of people and share my testimony or share what I had been through, I still had not necessarily dealt with the trauma
Right.
of it all. You
Right.
know, um, for my Christian folks, you know, we oftentimes think that we can just pray our problems away, that
Mhm.
we can just pray about it and we're going to just automatically be healed and it's going to go. And that's not the case. Like faith without works is dead. So if you're
Yes.
going to pray about it, but then what are you going to do after you get up from your knees to get your healing and get what it is that you need to be okay and to totally
Absolutely.
be healed?
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's kind of been my journey. I in the midst of that, I started We Win. So I guess that probably
Yes.
be the perfect
Go
segue
right
into
in.
We Win.
Perfect segue. Go ahead.
So We Win was actually something that started out as a vision board party.
Mhm.
So we would have these vision board events at my church, and I always found vision boards to be a very empowering tool. I still live
Love
by
it.
them. My children do them as well, and it's a source of accountability. The word tells us to write it down, make it
Make
plain,
it
and
plain.
so
Back to two and
once
two.
you see it, it starts with the thought, right? And once you have that thought, then you write that thought down. And once you write that thought down, that makes it truth, that makes it a reality, that makes it something that's going to come to
Makes
fruition.
it
And
real.
seeing it is going to make you act on it, right? And so going to these vision board parties was like life changing for me. So I was like, man, like I want to do this for my friends.
Mhm.
For my friends who don't go to church, for my
Right.
friends
Right.
who's like, I ain't with the church stuff or whatever.
Mhm.
I want to be able to reach them too. And
Absolutely.
so I ended up inviting like 6 or 7 ladies over to my house. This is a few years ago, like maybe shoot, it's been uh, quite a few years now. But anyway, I invited them over to the house. I said, "Listen, just come. Just bring
Mhm.
yourself. I got everything covered. Magazines, supplies, food, whatever." I said, "Here's the thing." I said, "We're not drinking. This is
Mhm.
not one of those events." I said, "Because we need to be focused. We need to hear from God. We're going to be
Come on
praying,
in here.
meditating, and writing our visions, right?" And so I said, "We got to do this in a sober mind." And so these women came, and it was probably about 6 or 7 of us, and it was a small intimate group, and some women knew each other and some didn't. And within that room you had women that were going through all sorts of different transitions in their life. You had some that was going through divorce, you had some that was trying to start businesses, you had some that was going through issues with their children. Like everyone had something going on with them.
Right.
Now, at the time, my only goal was for us to sit down and do some goal setting and some action planning so that we could be intentional within the upcoming year. And what I found was that by the end of the night, and you know how women could be when they don't know each other, they sizing each other up, they trying to
Uh-huh.
see, is she cool? Can I talk
Yeah.
to her? Women, we got to
Mhm.
stop doing that. Like,
Come on and
you
help.
know,
Come on and help, Tab.
because I'm all about sisterhood. I'm all about
Yes.
inclusion and loving on
Mhm.
each other because that there's nothing more
It's
powerful
so
than women
powerful.
coming together. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And so by the end of the night, these women were talking, they were sharing ideas. One woman that was going through a divorce that was happy about it was, encouraging the woman that was going through the divorce that was devastated by it. One woman that was starting a business was getting advice from the other woman who had already started a business. And so my point is, by the end of the night, we were praying, crying,
Empowered.
eating, empowered. And I was like,
Love
wow,
it.
okay.
It's
And
God.
so So fast forward, I'm like, God, I'm gonna keep doing this because I know this is all you. This ain't got nothing to do with
Yeah.
me. And I kept doing it, and every year it kept growing. So it became like an annual vision board party. So then
Mhm.
the next year, I invited somebody to do spoken word, and then the next year, and so like by the third year that I did it, it was like literally growing out of my house. Like I could
Mhm.
no longer have it hosted at my house because it was too many women.
Love it.
But I'm watching all of these women, and they're coming back with their success stories or with their testimonials. Girl, I had a ring on my board because I wanted to get married, and then next thing you know, I got engaged, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like I'm loving this. I'm like, God, you are
Mhm.
working in these women's lives. Now,
Mhm.
what are you doing in my life?
Period, Chad.
I'm like, because I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like at this moment, of course, I'm working my corporate job and I'm in school or whatever. But I was like, God, I know you called me to do more than this, but I just don't know what it is that you've called me to do.
Right.
I was like, I'm being obedient. I'm serving the woman. I'm doing this. I was like, but I still don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And
Something's
then I had
missing.
one of my girlfriends. She was like, you're doing it. And
Yes, friend.
I was like, what do you mean? I was like, this is just a vision board party. She was like, this is not just a vision board party. She was
Say
like, you don't
that,
see what you,
friend.
she said, you don't see what you doing here?
Come on in
And
here,
I was
friend.
like, no, like I really didn't get it. I did
I,
not see
I
it.
get
I
you,
did not
Chad.
see it.
You are
I
speaking to me.
I literally thought I was just doing a vision board party and that was it. And so I started brainstorming because I was like, I like hosting events. I like bringing women together. And so We Win was born. And
Mm,
so as We Win was formed, out of that became the annual vision board conference.
mhm.
Out of that came the prayer, yoga, and meditation events that I started doing.
Love
Out of
it.
that came a self-defense seminar that I was having because human trafficking in Atlanta was absolutely crazy, and I
Right,
wanted to
right.
teach women how to protect and defend themselves in the event that they was attacked.
Love that.
Out of that came We Win empowerment coaching, where I started doing life coaching. Out of
Yeah.
that came me going to places like the Mary Hall Freedom House or my sister's house, where I would go and volunteer and speak to these women
Mhm.
who were recovering from substance abuse. So it
Yes.
was just, it just kept going. Like every time I thought that I was done, like God would give me another idea. Like, no, you got to do this. No, you got to do that. And so the next thing you know, I was doing We Win apparel, and I was doing We Win coaching,
Gotta get me
and
a
I
shirt
was doing
too.
We Win speaking. I was doing all of this stuff, and I'm like, okay, now we're cooking. Now we're
Yeah,
operating
baby.
in purpose. Now we're working
Yes.
intentionally. Yes, yes, this is working for me. And then I started the podcast. The podcast came out of the pandemic because
Yes.
I had to pivot,
Mhm.
and I like to use P's a lot. So you're gonna hear
Mhm.
me use a lot of words with P's, but
Okay.
there's power in the pivot. When the
Mhm.
pandemic hit, I could no longer do face-to-face events, and I was like, well, that's my bread and butter. That's how I bring
Right.
people together. And I started doing the podcast on Anchor, and I was like, I give it to you for doing this live because,
Mhm.
honey,
I know.
I am one of those people. I was like, I'm not doing this live. One and two, I'm not going to do a video. I'm only going to do audio because
Right, right.
sometimes I might be recording in my drawers. Like, I'm not getting dressed. I'm not getting camera ready for my podcast. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
But I used that platform
Mhm.
and I was able to reach so many people. Like I was looking at my numbers and I'm like, there were people in the UK, in Ireland, that was listening
Yes.
to my podcast.
Yes,
I was
honey.
like, wow. And I was bringing on women there to do one of three things: uplift, encourage, or inspire.
Yes.
And there were entrepreneurs, there was health and wellness people. I've had therapists on there, and I've had clinicians and psychologists on there. We've talked about, goals, everything, like
Yeah.
everything. And I kept hearing people tell me that I needed to find a niche. They were like, you don't have a niche. You got to have a specific audience that you are targeting. And I'm like, but I want to help all
They
women.
call it, you have to have an avatar. You have to
Yeah,
have your
the
why.
avatar.
Yeah, the
And every
avatar.
time I tried to develop my avatar, I'm like, but I want to help everybody. I want to help
Okay.
all women.
Listen, Chad, don't let me put baby in a corner.
I'm
Don't
like,
let me put you in
baby,
a
not
corner.
going in the corner. You're not going to put me in a box. I want to be able to help
Yes.
everyone. But
Yes.
I understood what they were saying because my numbers were reflecting it. It was like I knew that I had good content and I knew that I had, you know, great workshops and all of that, but I was still there was still something kind of missing there, right? I had published a couple of books. I was doing a whole lot of stuff, but it seemed like WeWin still wasn't gaining the headway that I wanted it to gain. And it
Gotcha.
became really frustrating for me because I
Hmm.
was like, okay, God, you gave me this vision. Ultimately, He gave me a vision that I'm going to one day have my own like facility for women. And it's going to
Yeah.
be like a transitional home for women to come in and get the holistic care that they need, mind,
Yes.
body, and spirit. Because I feel like there's a lot of
Wellness.
places out here, but they have like one focus. Like either they help you with mental health, but then you still struggling financially. You can't get a
Right.
job, or you don't
Mhm.
know how to take care of your children. So I want to have like a holistic center where I have different areas, different specialists that are all coming together to be able to help these women and get them to where they need to be. Like
Right.
that's the goal. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen
It's
because
gonna
God gave it
happen.
to me, and
Yes.
He never fails. And He also, anything that He gives you, you got to know that it will be fulfilled. Like it
Yes.
has to be. So I know that it's going to happen.
Say that, Tab. And like he can give you vision, he can give you an idea. It does not mean it's going to happen right then.
It's
So
for an
that's what
appointed
sometimes,
time.
yes, because that's what sometimes happens as well. He's giving you, he's constantly downloading things, you're writing things down, you're like, oh yeah, let me do that too. And then you kind of forget about what you were already doing. So now it brings a frustration because you're like, but he
Yes.
told me this and it didn't mean at that time. So that's why
Right.
you have to constantly be in meditation and praying and seeking him to give you
Say
clarity
that.
on
Say
when to do
that.
certain things and who to connect to, because I don't care what nobody says. I'm gonna say it again. I think I said it last night. No one does anything alone. So you have to be able to be patient enough and trust God enough that He will bring the right people to connect with you. Like the young lady I had, big shout out to Cherie Dorch. She's also from Hempstead. She's a psychoanalyst. She said it took her 5 years for her business to, to flourish the way it was, and she has literally everything you just said you wanted. She has in her facility, and now
Mm,
she's
mm.
building another one in Florida. So, and
Wow.
everything is in God's timing. He does
Yes,
not give us things just because. He's intentional in
that's
everything
right.
He does. So you have to just see it before you see it and know it's gonna come. I'm excited for you, girl. I got chills, honey. I got chills because it's so needed. As women, we are the nurturers. We are the ones that, even though some of us have husbands, we make them feel like they make the decision, but we kind of do it all. We kind of do it
Of
all. We let
course.
them take the credit a lot of times. So it is imperative. It is so essential that we heal, that we get the things that we need, and that we operate in the things that God puts on our hearts. That's why it's so
Mhm.
important for organizations like WeWin to be able to tap into, oh, this is your gifting, this is what you're good at. So why don't you tap into your strength and not look so much towards the weaknesses that you have?
That's
Ask
right.
God to bring those who have these other strengths that you don't have. And
That's
so
right.
that's what we got to start, learning how to do. And that comes from awareness as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. That wisdom, that discernment, and like you said, spending
Mhm.
that one-on-one time with God, because He'll show
Yeah,
you, and
He will
He's
show you.
the divine orchestrator. So He's definitely going to put people in your path
Hmm.
that will be in alignment with the vision that He has for your life, right?
Yes.
We got to be very careful though, because a lot of times, and I had to kind of step back and say, every good idea isn't a God idea.
Right.
And to your point, sometimes we get so caught up where we're like, oh, this is the next best thing. Because I had all of this stuff that was going on, and I was stretched. And
Right.
it was like, okay, you're doing all of these things, but are these things in alignment with what it is that you're supposed to be doing right now?
Someone's in this chat right now that I want to just type in the word alignment, because God keeps
Because
saying it.
right,
He
because
keeps
if
saying it.
not, then what happens is that great idea becomes a distraction, because
Right.
then it knocks you off of target for what it is that you're supposed to be working on in that moment. So we got to be very careful. We also got to be very careful about chasing money or chasing certain
Come
things,
on here.
because again, it sounds good for that moment, but if it's out of alignment with what your true purpose is and with your true calling is, then the only thing it's going to do, it can't stop it, because whatever is for you, but it can prolong it. It
Come
can
on.
slow down your
It can
process.
slow it down.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
So what is one of the, okay, now you said you're a minister, you're a life
I've
coach.
stepped no, so I'll say this. I stepped down from ministry.
You did.
I did step down. I was going through some personal challenges within my life.
Mhm.
Literally, I feel like I went through like a midlife crisis as I was turning 40.
Okay.
There was just a lot going on between the business and then kind of things within my marriage,
Mhm.
and then going through transition with the children as becoming an empty nester.
Mhm.
I went through this like, and I remember posting it like on Facebook, and I was like, the closer that I'm becoming to 40, I feel like I'm kind of losing my mind. Like,
Wow.
but it wasn't a bad thing.
Mhm.
It was just one of those things. And then you had to consider the pandemic. It was just a lot that was going on.
Mhm.
And I think that it was in that moment, because remember, I went back to how I was operating and feeling like I was, healed and delivered and all of this. And I really wasn't. I was kind of
Mhm.
operating in a facade. Like I thought and I felt like, oh, I have it all together
Yeah.
and I got it. And I thought that the challenges and the trials and tribulations that I had went through previously had brought me to this place where I arrived.
You
I won't
arrived.
say it, but
Mhm.
I'm like, I got this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the moment that you think you got it, gotta be
You don't
like,
got it. You don't got it.
oh
Boom.
yeah, again.
Humble
Tell God your
thyself.
plan. Tell God your plan so he can laugh
Humble
at you.
thyself, child.
Humble thyself, because
Listen.
and it wasn't an arrogance. I just felt like I was at this place where, again, I had checked all my
Checked off the
boxes
list. I get it.
and I felt like I had it all together, and I
Mhm.
didn't. I felt so empty inside, so broken inside. And it was like, okay, now it's time to peel back these layers. And
Right.
so I had to stop coaching. I had to stop doing everything because my cup was empty and
Empty.
I had nothing else to give. And here's another nugget. I keep giving y'all these little nuggets. If you recognize that you are operating on E, stop
Mm-hmm.
and take the time and step away. I had to make a decision and a choice to step down from ministry because I understood the calling on my life, and I
Mm-hmm.
understood that people looked to me for direction and people looked to me to be that example. And if I wasn't able to deal with that and to handle that, heavy is the head that wears the crown, but if I wasn't
Right.
in a position to be able to pour positive and good energy and all of this into these people, then the only thing I was going to do was hurt these people. So it was
Right.
better for me to step away and get myself together
Mm-hmm.
before I started being able to be like, well, I can help you and I can help you and I can help you. Because at that moment, I couldn't even help myself.
Right. Right.
But that comes with self awareness and self management and understanding that, okay, it's time for you to go sit
Pull
down
back.
somewhere,
Pull back. Mm-hmm.
fall back and
Yeah.
get yourself together. And then when you're ready, then you
Mm-hmm.
can come back. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. And my cup was empty. I'm talking
It
about
was on
dry,
E, child.
bone dry.
It was hot.
It
She's
was
like, I was
bone
hitting,
dry.
I was hitting the tingling. Like, ain't nothing in
I ain't,
there.
I ain't had nothing left. I really had nothing left. And I
Yeah.
had to take that time away. And in that time is when I realized that there was so many things there that was unhealed and that I had not really dealt with.
Help with.
And it was like, okay, now I'm going to take this time. And that's literally what I've been doing with my life for like the last past year and a half.
Right.
I've literally just been figuring out who Tabitha is at
It
40,
was
because
time.
Tabitha's a different woman at 40 than
Yeah.
she was at 30. And I keep saying 40, but I am 42. The
Right.
pandemic, it throws me. We lost 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
I get it. I get it. Child.
but figuring out and what really makes me happy, what brings me real joy, what brings me
Mhm.
real peace, those
Right.
are the things that I'm focused on right now. And so I know that, like, on the other side of this, like when I do come back into coaching and
Mhm.
speaking and all of that, man, I'm gonna
Power
have even
outside.
more
Yeah.
ammo than I had the first go round, because
Right.
God was like, you think don't ever think you've arrived.
That's a
Don't.
fact. No one has.
And also understand that anytime you're going to be elevated, there's going to be challenges and there's going to be things
Yeah.
that you're going to go through that's going
Absolutely.
to help you into that elevation.
Mhm.
But
Absolutely.
I can't keep speaking on what I went through 20 years ago because I'm not there anymore. So now my message is going to be a little different. It's going to be a little
Hmm.
clearer.
Yeah.
Now my niche has gotten a little smaller because now I
Yeah.
understand that my passion right now is helping women to heal.
Yeah.
Like, I always wanted to help women, period, but now
Mhm.
more so I want to help them heal.
Yes. Tag.
Because when you think about the amount of women who are committing suicide, who are, going through depression and bipolar disorder and all of this stuff, and a
Hmm.
lot of it is stemming from unhealed trauma.
Unhealed trauma. Absolutely.
So I'm
Absolutely.
not a psychiatrist, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a clinician, I'm not any of those things,
Hmm.
but I am a woman who loves and cares for other women and an
Hmm.
advocate for women. And I will literally hold your hand and help you get to the place that you need to be to get the help that
Yes.
you need. That
Yes.
is my passion, that is my purpose, and that is what I'm operating in now.
Yes. Help somebody. Listen, I ain't gonna say no names. But is somebody on here that needed to hear that exact thing? That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. God makes no mistakes. He knows all things. So, like I said to you earlier, I said, you don't know who you will reach. So, it will behoove you to be obedient to what God is saying to you and what purpose God has placed on your life. Now, let me ask you this question because, and this is something that I had to battle with, being in church and hearing from God and also being a broken child into a broken woman. um I would hear people say, why is it that the first thing we do, when God elevates us to a certain place, is we leave the church? So, do you feel that, why was it that you chose? Did you leave the church as a whole, or did you just step down from having a title as a minister, and why? Uh oh, she laughing,
Good,
y'all.
good, good question. All right.
She's not
The
laughing,
mic,
y'all. Hold on.
look, the mic just got hot now. The mic just got hot. Okay. So, let me take a sip of water on this one.
She's like, let me take a sip of tea,
Seriously.
literally.
Mhm. Mhm. All right.
Not,
So, I did, like I mentioned earlier, I was going through some personal issues in my life within my marriage and some other things that I will not go into detail with. But I will say that going back to that whole life changing transition at 40, when I stepped away from ministry, it was because I felt like I wasn't living a lifestyle that was in alignment with ministry. And
okay.
I take ministry very seriously. I don't ever want to be a hypocrite. I don't ever want to be up here and not living what I'm speaking or preaching. If you're going to walk it, if you're going to talk it, then you have to walk the walk, right?
Right.
And I wasn't doing that. I'm human. We all make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? It's
I
about
got you.
grace or whatever. However, because take I did take that role very, very seriously, I realized that what I was dealing with and what I was experiencing in my lifetime, that I did not need to be in ministry at that moment. Now, I will also say this. I felt like I felt like there were moments when I was in church where I felt like um, I didn't like what was happening. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying in my church in particular, I'm just saying overall. Like,
Hmm.
church is a place of healing. And this is, again, no judgment, no condemnation or anything. But what I started to feel and what I started to just kind of see, and I would talk to God about this all the time, is that I want to make sure that if I'm coming to church, I want to be supported and loved and encouraged. I don't want to be judged and condemned. And because at the end of the day, God is love, and
Right.
we're called to operate in love with each
Hmm.
other. Now, I'm not saying that we're not supposed to be corrected, because
Right.
correction, we are supposed to be corrected. However, it's how you do it.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was in situations where there was cliques and there was lots of just isolation, or there
Right.
was lots of judgment. And there were moments in my life where I felt like, and this is from the church and the world, it was like I
Hmm.
was too churchy for my world friends and
Hmm.
too worldly for my church friends.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so, if I was seen sitting out having a glass of wine or smoking a cigar, because
Hmm.
yes, I like to smoke cigars,
Hmm.
then I had friends and family talking about, oh my gosh, she's smoking a cigar. She's a minister. She's not supposed to do that.
Got
And
you, Sam.
so, and that's, honey, that's just the tip of the iceberg of some of the
Right.
stuff that I heard. And so I said, you know what? I said, I need to step back from this for a second. I need to reevaluate.
Hmm.
Also, I can remember when I first started getting the call, or when I first really started hearing from God that I was going to be in ministry. And he would come to me in my dreams and he would show me speaking on platforms to masses. And I ran from it. I was like 28 years old. I was like, God, I am not trying to hear you with all of that, because and at 28 years old, I was like, I still love the world too much. There's no way I'm going to be a minister. Like, I didn't become a minister until I was 34. But
Right.
I remember one of the she wasn't an evangelist, but one of the elders in my church, she came to me and she told me, she said, you're going to be in ministry, she said, but your ministry is not in the pulpit. She told me
Well,
this at 28 years old. She said, your ministry is going to be to women. She was like, but you're going to be in the trenches. She was like, you're going to be in the streets.
come
She was
on,
like, you're going to be,
prophetess.
she was like, in the strip clubs or
Mm.
wherever. She was like, but your ministry, she said, because you're going to have to reach women who will not come to church. And she was like, that's where you're going to be. She was like, and they're going to, and it still gives me chills talking
Yeah,
about it even
yeah.
today, because she said, you're not going, because at that time I was kind of being ridiculed. There was one lady in the church who told me she didn't like the way I dressed because this was too tight or this was too short or whatever the case was. And she told me, she said, don't listen to any of that. She said, because these women are going to see God in you. She was like, but it's not going to be anything that you have to do. She was like, you just going to have to be you. You have to be transparent, authentic, and genuine. And that is what's going to help them to relate to you, because you're going to be relatable. You're not going to be up here looking down on them, talking about how
Being
you're better
student.
than them or how
Mhm.
they need to do A, B, C, and D. And so again, this is not
God.
me coming down on the church at all. At all. But I am saying that I feel like there is a gap between the church and between people in the world. And it's like, you want people to come to God and you want to lead them to God, but we have to make sure that we're doing it from a place of love and
Love.
not from a place of them coming there and the first thing we're telling them is your music sucks and your pants is this and you that. Like, that's not how you're going to get people to
That ain't
come.
it.
and
It's not
and
giving, y'all. It's not
it's
giving.
it's about relationship. And so
Mhm.
for me, it's about my relationship. Like, it's not even no longer about this whole religion piece of it, because religion is religion. Everybody got their different doctrines
Right.
and all of that. It's about relationship.
Mhm.
I spend time with my creator each and every morning. I
Mhm.
know what Christ has said, to love him, to
Mhm.
love my neighbor, and to love myself. And
Right.
when you operate on that, everything else that you do will
Falls into
be
place.
fall into place. If you follow those three things, when they tried to trip Christ up to ask him what's the most important, commandments, that's
Mhm.
what he told them.
Right.
Love God, love yourself, love your neighbor.
Yeah.
Everything else will fall into place. So
Right.
that's how I live. And I know that at some point I will find myself back in church because
Right.
I love church. I
Mhm.
love fellowship. But again, it has to be in the right way and
Yes.
and at the right time.
And it's a part of your makeup, it's a part of your process, and it's a part of your journey, because like the woman said to you, your ministry it's in the trenches. So there's a woman or women who need to hear the new tab, because now you're able to say, listen, I had to fall back and be like, time out, God, this don't feel right. I feel like I'm doing everything you said, but I still feel some type of emptiness. And then
Right.
now I'm feeling too spread apart. God is not going to do anything. He's not going to give us something that is going to bring people to him that's going to have us dying off. That doesn't make any
Exactly.
sense. It's not of
Exactly.
God. If you are drained and you can't function, something's wrong.
That's
You're
right.
doing something that's off. You may have heard him, but something you have to reevaluate. You got to pull back a little bit and see, okay, God, how do you need me to do this so I'm going to be effective? You can have a million titles and not be good at near one of them,
Say that.
because you're
Say
drained,
that.
you're overly thinking everything, you're worried about your skirt being too tight, you're worried about if your hair up, if your hair bald, if this one looking at you is too
Listen,
much. So
I
you
can
won't be
remember.
effective when
I
you got
can
to be
remember being up there and leading prayer and wondering if my prayers are being scrutinized
Mhm.
because I'm not using big enough words, or
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I wasn't as seasoned as some of the other pastors and elders within the church, or leading women's ministry and then half the women in the church don't like me for whatever
Jesus,
reason. It's like, but I don't, but I'm unbeknownst to me, because I don't know this, because
listen
I
here.
like and love everybody, but I'm hearing it through what I'm saying? I just was like, I got to step
Listen.
back. I got to step back from this and regroup.
Listen, Tab. Listen, Tab. If I could throw my shoe at this screen, honey. Listen
That's
here.
why I had to. That's why I had to sip my water before.
Listen.
But listen, and
I
let
don't
me
know
say
where my
this.
cup at, but I'm gonna sip my plant right now, okay?
But let me say this, because I want to clarify. Okay, I want to make sure that I clarify on this. I'm not attacking the church.
Right. I
I am
got
not
you.
attacking
We
people in
we know.
church
We know.
because
We
we
know.
are all healing and we're all
Hmm.
human. And
Hmm.
so people in church, because of, people in church get a bad rap as well, but you got to
Hmm.
understand that people in church are people too.
No,
So for
they're human beings.
exactly. So
The
for the
church is
folks in
full of
the
humans.
world, for the folks in the world who like to judge the people in the church
Hmm.
and say, "Oh, well, they go to church, but they ain't no different from me because they do da da da
Hmm.
da da da." Da." Well,
Hmm.
guess what? That person in the church recognizes that they need to be in church for a reason.
Right.
So
Right.
the church is a hospital. You go there
Yes.
so that you can
To heal.
heal, and so that and all of
Absolutely.
that. So I'm not saying that that I'm blaming them or that they're bad people or anything like that. I'm just saying that again, we all are a work
Your
in progress. We
experience.
all need to
Yes.
extend grace and
Hmm.
love because you never know, like the Bible says, you never know who you may be entertaining. It might be an
The
angel in
angel.
disguise. Somebody walked through that church, and because they might smell like marijuana from the day before, you judging them and turning your nose up at them. You don't know where that person got going on.
They can go take their life because you didn't give them that welcome. You didn't give them that love. So you gotta be
Absolutely.
careful. And yo, I listen. We know you're not bashing the church, but you call a spade a spade. Your encounter is your encounter, and it's been a lot of people's encounter. And we have to do better. We have to do better. Like you said, the church is a hospital. It's full of imperfect people, and even though we're using the word love, love is a word that has so many definitions. What you feel is love, the next person doesn't. Like we spoke
Right.
about earlier, as kids, we're 18, we watching our friends go through abusive stuff, and they're like, "But he loved me, and I love him," and that was love. You don't no, serious. That was love to
Yes.
them. So we're coming to a place where we're like, oh, it's gonna be flowers and honey, and it's gonna be this, and you encounter someone who's had to fight just to get to church. So the energy they had to deal with before they got there, they're putting on you, and you're confused. So that's also
Exactly.
why the Bible tells us to pray without ceasing. So when you start to hear more from God, He doesn't just change your thinking, He changes your thinking about people you encounter. So
That's
when
right.
as you mature in God, you will realize, you know what? She gave me that energy because she has something going on. So God, whatever it is, do it for her because
That's right.
she has a calling. God, because she has ministry and someone needs to hear from her. Someone needs to hear her story. So God, heal her, and you want to take it as personal as when you were a baby in Christ because now you have grown in God.
That's
So
right.
we have to continue to give each other grace, give ourselves grace, and be obedient because you had to be obedient to be like, listen, let me pull back. This is not given. Okay. I
That's
got to
right.
go forth in what God has told me to do. And it does not mean anything is against you. This is just where God is taking me. So
That's
I
right.
have to be obedient because what He's purposed for my life, someone's life, it can either be the more, or they can maybe end their life because they did not encounter me. And that's what
That's
I
right.
tell people. I tell people, you need to walk in your vocation as if God has literally told you, if you don't do this, someone could die. That's how
Wow.
serious you need
That's
to
wow.
take
That's
your
powerful.
purpose.
That's so
That's how
powerful.
serious you need to take your purpose. So I thank you, for hearing Him and for being obedient to what He spoke to you and not have to dwell on what others and their judgment is because you have saved lives. Someone had a moment where they were like, oh my God, I'm so glad Tab, said that she's doing another vision board because I need to get back to my vision.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? That's
Yes.
how you need to take the gifting that you have. I'm so proud of you, Chad. Oh my God. I'm not crying tonight, y'all. Not
Right.
no capping.
We're not gonna do that tonight.
We ain't doing that tonight. We ain't doing that tonight. So now, you're walking in your purpose. You realize you had to pull back and find out who is Tab Manning for Tab Manning.
Mhm.
What are some? I know you gave us a few nuggets tonight, but what are some? First of all, as a coach, what is a life coach? Let me have you tap into that. What is a life coach?
All right. So a life coach is essentially someone that helps you to get to whatever your end goal is. So if you think of it from sports, right? Like you have the players that's on the team, whether it's football, basketball, or whatever. The players are the ones that's out there scoring the ball, they're running, they're doing the work. The coach is the one on the sidelines helping to strategize how to get the victory in the game. They're seeing the entire floor. They're seeing what's going on offense, what's going on defense. They're seeing if you are sluggish, tired, or whatever you have going on, and they're helping you to devise a strategy and a plan for success.
Mm-hmm.
That's ultimately what a life coach does. We're not therapists. Like I said earlier, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not any of that. However, if I'm talking to you and we're going through some things, I'm there to help you drill down to figure out what is the root cause of why you're stuck.
Right.
You know, I do one of the things that I do with my clients sometimes is we do a exercise of a tombstone. And now it sounds very, very dark, but what I do is I have them start at the very end of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, if you had to write on your tombstone what it is that you would have wanted to accomplish in this lifetime, I want you to write that out. And as they write it out, and sometimes it freaks them out because they're like, I don't want me writing my. I'm like, I'm not didn't ask you to write your obituary.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
just saying, at the end of your life, what would you have want to be said about
Be
you, or
remembered by.
what do you want to be
Yeah.
remembered by? What's your legacy? Like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
And then when they come back with that, I say, okay, now we're going to work our way backwards to get you to get these things done. And figuring out, okay, why are you getting hung up on this? Is it that you have a problem with procrastination? Is it that you have a problem with, I don't know, time management, whatever the case is? And if time management is the issue, then I help you figure out a way to resolve that, whether it's doing an Eisenhower model um, for your task list, or accountability. I'm going to check in with you to give you certain homework or certain
Mm-hmm.
assignments to go through, and then when I come back, I'm like, well, did you get this done, did you get that
Mm-hmm.
done? It's not a long term thing, but the things that I teach you, the methods that I teach you, and the resources that I give you will help you and equip you for a lifetime if you use it.
If you use
Life
it.
coaching works like anything else if you are locked in and if you
Mm-hmm.
invest in it and if you see the value of investing in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I've also incorporated shadow work because part of I did like countless hours of to get my certification, but one of the things that they just talked about was shadow work. So shadow work is the parts of yourself that you have hidden or compartmentalized, usually through childhood, because you were told that that was something bad. Can you and ever since I've read
Give
that
an
and
example.
studied it, like just imagine a little girl who might be 7 or 8 years old, and she is what you would consider assertive,
Mm-hmm.
but she's told that she's bossy, or
Yeah.
she's told she's these labels are placed on her. You
Mm-hmm.
too bossy, you too this, you too that. So then what happens is she grows up thinking that that's a negative, and she
Mm-hmm.
compartmentalizes it.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone who talked a lot or was loud as a kid, and the parent didn't like loudness in the house, so stop all that noise, why you too damn loud, but oh,
You
excuse
want
my language,
tag?
but you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. And
Yep.
so they started smalling, and like my granny from Trinidad would say, shrinking themselves, right? Small
Mm-hmm.
up yourself. So then they small up themselves, and then all of a sudden, they grow up um connecting loudness to being a negative thing, so they don't use their voice,
Right.
or they become passive aggressive because they were told that that assertiveness was a negative thing.
Right.
And so they don't recognize that until we start doing the shadow work, and the shadow work consists of writing down good memories, writing down bad memories, taking yourself back to traumatic experiences, because what happens is a lot of times we experience those things but we never got a chance to process them.
Right.
So we compartmentalize them and we put them behind us, or we hid them from ourselves. But what happens at in the time of conflict or in a time of stress, those things, they
They
resurface, they come to
surface.
the surface,
Mm-hmm.
because that little child, that little girl, feels like she has to come up and protect the rest of you.
The rest of
But the rest of them don't really acknowledge her or mess with her like that. So then there's a conflict between the multiple parts of you. That shadow needs to be given a voice, and you need to figure out how to name it and accept it, and so that it can be, in a cohesiveness with the rest of the good parts of you.
right. Love that. I knew
So
what it
that's
was.
some of the
I just wanted them
yeah.
to understand what it was. Yes.
Yeah, so that's some of the stuff that I do with coaching. And the whole reason for me doing coaching again was just wanting to extend my reach at helping women, because I understood that sometimes I suffer with procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm lazy and I like to wait to the last minute to get
Mm-hmm.
things done. And so I didn't really see the importance of it at first I was like, life coach, and it's just another trend that they got going on.
Mhm.
But the more that I started like digging into it, I was like, nah, this is a real
No,
thing, and
it's
it
the
can
thing.
really be useful.
It is the
Like
thing.
people, like very successful people have life coaches. I have a life coach. I have a spiritual coach, a life coach. Like I have coaches because I
Right,
realized that, like you said, we're not supposed to do this thing called life on our own.
right, right. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I yeah, we'll talk after. But yes, yes. And your life coach should have a life coach. Just
Yes,
like your mentor should have a
should have a
mentor.
mentor. That's
Hey,
right.
you got a therapist, they should have a daggone therapist.
All right,
Everybody,
especially if they sitting there listening to all your stuff,
yes,
they
they
gotta
need
have
one.
somewhere to decompress
Yes,
themselves.
they need one. They
Listen,
absolutely need one.
when you think about pouring, right? It should be like abundance, right? Meaning overflow, the cup overflows. So you think about a cup that's overflowing and there's another cup underneath. So you're
Hmm.
pouring into that cup and then that cup is overflowing and it pours into another cup. And that's the way this works. We all should be pouring into each other. I
Absolutely.
don't ever want to be the smartest one in the room.
That's
I
it.
don't ever want to be the most
Hmm.
successful in my circle. That
Hmm.
means I'm in the wrong circle.
That's a
I want to
fact.
be somewhere where I can absorb, where I can learn, where I can grow.
Hmm.
And the only way you're going to do that is if you surround yourself with people who have not the
New
same but
mindset.
similar
Hmm.
mindsets, growth
Hmm.
mentalities, good energy, good vibrational energy.
Yeah.
I remember my spirit coach telling me this one time. I love her so much, but she was telling me that she said every time you come back to me, she was like, I feel like I always have to clean you up again because
Oh,
you keep, she was like, you keep going back to these low vibrational environments.
oh wow.
And so I was like, but I like the low vibration.
Look,
And
like,
so
who said they low vibration?
right. I was like, well, I was like, I felt a little judged. I was like, so
Yeah.
you tell me like if I go to a lounge or if I want to go hang out with my friends, that means that I'm like low vibrational. She said, I just want you to think about this. She said, are the people that you are, again, hanging out with, like, what are they doing? What are you doing? What are you talking about? What's
Hmm.
happening? She
Hmm.
was like, is it in alignment with who you are and
They
who
got
you're
word
trying to
again.
be and where you're trying to go? And
Hmm.
if it isn't, then you already know what it is. Like,
Right.
what vibration are these people? And it doesn't. It's not a judgment thing. It's not like because you're doing something specific. It's just about where these people's minds are,
Yes.
and again, what their visions are. Like sometimes
Hmm.
I can sit in a room full of entrepreneurs and just soak
Hmm.
up what it is that they're talking about, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
girl.
wow, like I'm loving this.
Yes.
Um, so every time she says that now, and I recognize that
Hmm.
there's certain places that I don't want to go. There's
Hmm.
certain places like think about this. No one would go to a club for 2018. You know what I'm saying? Like you've
Right, right,
outgrown that.
right,
So
right.
life is like that. Like there's just certain circles and certain things that at some point you outgrow and it no
Hmm.
longer fits you.
And it's
And
okay.
it's
It's
okay.
okay.
And you'll know it because you'll be uncomfortable. You'll
Right.
know it because you're like, I could have stayed
Hmm.
home. This ain't it.
Hmm.
And I've had
Yeah.
moments like that. I've had moments where people have invited me out and I've been like, alrighty then. I just came through to
She's
show my
like,
face
what was
and
my shirt earlier?
like SpongeBob, I'ma head out. Like, because it wasn't my thing. And we
Yeah.
have to be okay with recognizing when our intuition, whatever tells us this ain't where you're supposed to be right now. And
Right.
being okay to leave.
Absolutely. You got the
The
right to be
conversation, the
selective.
relationship, the party,
Yes.
whatever.
You have the right to be selective. It don't even have to be the club. It can just be the energy in the space where you like, yeah, this ain't giving no more. Like I kind
Exactly.
of yeah, wasn't we talking about this last year? Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
that is listen, that is okay. Respectively. Respectfully.
Respectively.
Yes, that is absolutely okay. Love it, love it, love it. All right, so I wanted you to talk about, I see you on social media with your children. They're amazing.
Those are
What
my
is it
babies.
like being a mom to two dope kids who know God, who are elevating, in their gifts, who are just doing amazing things. Share with them, what your children are doing and what is it like. First of all, because I was laughing at myself the other day. I was like, because I think I'm still 20, child. I don't see myself as like a whole adult. So,
Right.
you know,
Girl, I say this all the
like,
time. Me and my daughter the same age. I
I
don't
was
even know
gonna
how that
say,
happens, but we the same age.
I'm not old yet. You got to stop cursing around them older people, not me. No, I'm just kidding. But talk, share first of all what your children are doing. and just speak on how you guys kind of got to that place. You don't have to give like the long version, but just just explain, because you did share
Absolutely.
already how being a young mom you had to figure things out. My thinking is your children watched you go through this as well.
Oh
So
yeah.
how did that kind of shape and mold them into the young adults that they are today?
Absolutely. So again, my son and my star, they are two of my greatest accomplishments. I love them to life. We grew up together. I
Yeah,
posted that recently
yeah.
that we literally grew up together. Um, we have this thing that we have that we call ourselves OTF, only the family. Like that's us, right? But
Yes.
we're very, very close. And I always wanted to be the mom that I did not have.
Hmm.
So I am when my son played basketball, I was the loudest mom in the gym. My daughter models. I'm the loudest mom in the stands. I'm her momager. I'm there every single step of the way. Um, the thing about it is that as your children get older and you have to allow them you have to allow them the space to be who they are
Hmm.
going to be,
Hmm.
whether you agree with them or not.
Hmm.
You have to allow them to figure out life for themselves. And sometimes as a parent it's hard because sometimes you might see them going down a certain way and you like, I don't want you to go down that route, but I have to allow you to. I'm that mom that I'm like, I'm here for advice and counsel. I've given you the tools, I've given you the resources, I've given you the wisdom, the guidance. You know God, so I trust you. And even if you do make a mistake, it's just part of your learning process. Because sometimes we try to protect them so much, and in doing that, you shelter them. So then, when real world does come, they don't know how to deal with it because
Right.
you tried to shelter and protect them and shield them. So I don't like just let them, go amok. However, I am the mama eagle. I'm pushing you out the nest and I'm gonna let you fly.
Hmm.
Now I got your back 100%.
Hmm.
Percent. I'm always gonna be here for you. But both of them, they did 2 years away at college. My daughter had went to Tuskegee for 2 years, and then she decided that she wasn't gonna go back. And I was devastated because I literally was living vicariously through her because
Right.
I didn't
Right.
get the college experience that I
Yeah.
wanted. I'm like, what you mean we not going back to college?
Yeah.
But we were supposed to pledge Delta,
Yeah.
and we had plans. We was doing stuff.
Right.
Wait, what?
Right. That's
Because
real
again, yo, I was very like, I think she was devastated in herself because she wanted to go back,
time.
but I took it very, very hard when she didn't go back because I felt like I failed her in some
Mhm.
way. And then I also felt like, well, her not going back to school, is that a reflection of me? Like, did I,
Come on.
so I took that personal. And then I looked at it as though, again, the checklist, right? I'm supposed to put my kids through college. Well, she didn't finish.
Right.
So I failed at that. But I had to let it go. And
Mhm.
I had to say, you know what? She's going to find her way. And
Right.
I have to allow her this space and this time to learn who she is as an individual and what that looks like for her.
Right.
She is very passionate about her art. She does music, she does poetry, just like her mom. She's a supermodel, she does photography. She has so many gifts that God has instilled on the inside of her. And so, who am I to dictate how she operates in her
Mhm.
gifts?
Mhm.
God blessed us with these children, but they really don't belong to us.
They
They still
don't.
belong to Him.
They don't say
And
it.
so
Say
we
that.
have to allow them to do them.
Mhm.
My son, he played basketball and he went to college for 2 years and then, well, year and a half. And then the pandemic happened and they had canceled this season. And deep down, I knew that my son never wanted to go to college. He wanted to play basketball.
Right.
And
Right.
so once he didn't play basketball anymore, he was like, Ma, I don't want to go back to school. And
Right.
I was like, not another one. Oh my God. Like, y'all are killing me over here, okay?
You
And
killing me,
so
Smalls.
you're killing me, Smalls. And so I was just like, okay. So, like, you too? And
Yeah.
he looked me in my eyes and he said, I said, so what's next? Like, if you're
Right.
not gonna go to school, what are you gonna do? I was like, you gonna go out here, you gonna get a job, whatever. And he was like, nah, I'm not getting a job. Okay,
She
what we
said,
doing here?
what you talking about, Willis?"
I need some more. Yeah, you need to give me something else. And he
Yeah.
said, Ma, he said, I'm not working for anyone.
Say
I'm
it,
not working.
son.
And I heard another one of your guests say the same thing about her son.
Mhm.
But my son said, he said, I'm not working for anyone. He said, I'm going to start my own business. He said, I can't, I think girl, he went to one job one time. It was like in a factory in the summertime. I never forget. It was in the warehouse. It was like in a Duracell factory. He had to put batteries in the box. I think that lasted for like a week. He was like, this ain't it. He was like, this is not it.
This ain't given. I'm
But
cracking up.
I remember the same zest, the same energy, the same dedication and commitment and drive that he had for basketball.
Yeah.
He's put into his business. My
Mhm.
No one could out hustle my son on the court. No
Say
one could
that.
outwork him on the court
Mhm.
because he was smaller than the rest,
Mhm.
and he had to work extra hard to prove himself. And so when he gave up on that, I was like really, really disappointed, but I understood it.
Mhm.
I understood. But
Mhm.
what he did was he took that same passion and he put it into his business.
Right.
So he started his business. It's called Dirty Money Apparel.
Big money and power.
He's been in business now for over 2 years.
Mhm.
I helped him in the beginning. I think I started him, I gave him like $500.
Mhm.
And he went and he got like 50 shirts pressed up and made. And he sold those shirts in like 2 days. And
Love
I was
it.
like,
Go
whoa.
off, son.
And so he has only built up since then. He's had his own pop-up shops.
Yeah.
He has his sewing machine downstairs. He makes custom clothing. I mean, his stuff is amazing. Some rappers and things like that have worn his stuff in videos. He got his LLC. He got his EIN. Like he's legit. He's
Yeah.
not just out here. He's not a hustle man. He
Right.
literally has a business, and he's like, I want to be a designer.
Yes.
Like I don't
Go
want to
off,
just
son.
and
Love
so,
it.
how can I do anything other than support him
Yeah.
100%?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of other things that he could be doing out here,
Right.
but he has decided that this is what he wants to do, and he is not going to stop until it gets to where he wants it to be. I'm telling you, like I watch his work ethic. He gets up every single morning like he's going to work
It's,
legit, like he's
yep.
legitimate, and he's learned how to do every type of Photoshop. He's taught himself how to work on his sewing machine. He's got his own heat press. Like he does everything. Some of his stuff that he comes up, I'm like, you made that? Like,
Right.
oh my God. So I mean, both of them are creatives. I know that I've always been a creative in a different space, but
Mhm.
God has just blessed them tremendously. And like you said earlier, like what I love about them more than anything is I'm not defining their success about what their annual salaries are or how much money
Mhm.
they make or what degrees they have on the wall. That doesn't define success for
Right.
me, for them. If they can get up every single day in the morning and look in the mirror and be happy with who they are as people and treat other people well,
Mhm.
I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that because I know so many young folks who are just not in that same space.
No, not at all. Not at all. And that's a blessing. That is a blessing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, they
Hmm.
are doing their thing. They are doing their thing. Shout out to the daughter and the what you call them, the star and the son. I love
My
that.
star and my
The
son.
star
Yep.
in your son. I absolutely love it. Shout out to them. Just keep making mama proud. Well, keep making your parents proud. Keep making your parents proud. But like she said, keep doing you, doing what makes you happy and what you love to do. I absolutely love that so much. All right. So author, speak to us a little bit about the books and then we're gonna, do
Yeah,
our
and then we're gonna wrap this thing up, huh? I've been running my
yeah,
mouth for
yeah.
like 2 hours now.
Now
Um,
this is awesome. This is good.
yes, so I've always aspired to be a writer. I wanted to be a writer my whole life. I remember writing my first poem in like sixth grade. I remember like winning storytelling contests, and him said I was on the school newspaper. I had got accepted to the communications program. I always wanted to be a writer. And
Mhm.
you talk about a dream deferred, right? Because I ended up not going to school for that and not operating in that. But as I started to, do We Win and come into my own and really start operating in my purpose, God was like, it's time to write the book. And I was
Let's
like,
go.
okay. And literally, like the first book that I wrote, which is Pocketbook of Blessings, my first
Mhm.
baby, which I have it here.
Mhm.
When I wrote this book, it was like God downloaded this book into my spirit while I was sleeping.
Mhm.
I promise you, I sat at my laptop for like 2 weeks just typing away for hours and hours and hours because I was like, I got to get this out before I
Get it
forget it.
out.
I got to get it out before I forget it. I wouldn't even come up for air or anything. I would just literally just sit there and type, 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 type. And I ended up. It was initially going to just be an ebook. And then I had so many people that was asking for it on paperback, so then I ended up releasing it in paperback form. But I had published it through Amazon, and so essentially, a pocketbook of blessings. Um, is the thought behind it is blessings, it's lessons with the B in front of it.
Right,
And so the idea is once you're able to see your life lessons as blessings, then they become your blessings.
right,
And so it's like 5 chapters, and I talk about how I received the blessing of patience and passion and purpose and perseverance and posture, and I give little snippets from stories of my life and how that lesson was learned within that.
right.
So that was my first baby. And the second book that I wrote it right after my 40th birthday, and it was called Pocketbook of Power. And so that was a 40-day devotional in honor of my 40th birthday. And it talks about everything that you can possibly imagine. If you have a jealousy spirit over you, there's going to be something there about jealousy. If you want to know something about parenting, it's a devotional about parenting, about relationships, about anger. And the way that it's broken up is there's a scripture reference, and then there's either a short story or a poem or affirmation or something, and then it ends with a prayer regarding
Mhm.
that specific topic.
Right.
um, and so I published them exactly a year apart, and I mean they've done very well. I'm
Yeah.
proud of them.
You should
I
be.
there's definitely more to come.
Mhm.
um, the pocketbook series was the purpose, or the I guess why I used pocketbook is that when you think about a pocketbook, a woman's pocketbook, we keep our essentials in our
Mhm.
pocketbooks, right? So we keep our life in there, all the things that we need. And so when you talk about a pocketbook of power, well, we all know that the power is in your word, the power
Right.
is in your prayers, the power is in what you speak, right? And so a pocketbook of power means this book is your power, and it's we know that it's important because it's in your purse. So that's your pocketbook of
Love
power.
it.
And the same thing with the blessings.
Love, love, love it. Love it. Love it. Yes, please go get her book. Tell them where they can get the books.
So the books, the coaching, everything, there's a one-stop shop, which is my website. And my website is womenempoweredwin.com. It's very simple. So you
Mhm.
could go there and listen to a podcast because there's a link for that.
Yes, she's on
You
Anchor. Yes.
Yes, you can go there and purchase books. You can go there, sign up for coaching classes if that's what you want. If you're looking for a speaker,
Mhm.
you can go in there and contact me that way so that we can book for speaking engagements. But everything is at, again, women, and that's plural. So womenempoweredwin.com.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. She's a motivational speaker. She's a life coach. She's an author. She's a woman of God. She is a mom. She is doing big things agwan with the women out here, and I am just so godly proud of you. Don't stop, because you know that whatever God's giving you, it is not about you. It is about His people. It is not just going to touch, because you got to understand something. When you pour into the women, right? They are the mothers, they are the sisters, they are the aunties, they're the grandmas, and we create atmospheres as women. So when
Yes.
we're good, everybody's good. So
Yes.
when you really understand how vital you are, and in your community and what you're doing with women, it's not just about the women, it's also the men.
Right. It's not just that woman.
Yeah.
It's the men and the ones that come after them.
Mhm.
I read this book called It Didn't Start With You. And it talks about the
Good title.
science. Yeah, it talks about the science or the biology of how trauma gets passed down through
Hmm.
the womb.
Yep.
And it talked about how when you think about eggs inside of a woman's body, right? So I'll use myself as an example. Like my grandmother, who had her own trauma that she went through. So my mother, being in her womb, took on that trauma because
Emotions.
again, that the emotions and all of that. But then within, even though my mother's an embryo or a fetus or whatever, she has eggs, which I'm in,
Yep.
and it's scientifically proven. So just think that if we start healing from that perspective, then we're healing people so that we're healing generations that's coming down the
Yeah.
pipeline. So it
Yeah.
ain't even about what we're doing. The work that
Mhm.
we're doing today is for the generations that's coming after us later on. It's not even
That's it.
about us. We're trying to heal that lineage at this
Hmm.
point,
Hmm.
so that when they look back on, like we look back on our ancestors and we're like, dag, like they went through so much, and we're carrying a lot of that stuff that they went through. So imagine us once we become ancestors for
Yeah.
our lineage down the line to be like, man, our ancestors was popping. Like they
Yeah.
was
Fact.
healing, they was whole,
Exactly.
they was
Yep.
entrepreneurs, they was
Hmm.
kings and queens, all of that. So
Yes.
that's the goal.
Absolutely.
That's the
Absolutely.
goal.
I know that to be true. I truly believe that. I remember my mother telling me how back when they were growing up, if you were pregnant, they wouldn't even let you go to a funeral because of the
Yes.
trauma. They
Yes.
just it was they you wouldn't even watch horror movies because they cared so much about the protecting of that fetus and
That's right.
that you're exactly what you just said. So we are the ones that have to impart something different,
That's
something
right. It
that's
starts with
whole.
us.
It
It
starts
starts with
with
us.
us. We have to take it personal that it starts with us. Even if there was someone connected to you that poured into you, you have to take it like you're the start of it. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? That's how personal you have to take this thing. So thank you so much for hearing the call, hearing the call and being obedient, understanding that, your story of all that you went through, from a child until now is connected to someone else learning who God is and learning who they are in God. And
That's
so,
right.
get those books out, child, and just push through whatever else God has given you. We need you right now, period. That's how we have to
Yes.
see this thing is we need our sisters who are pouring into our sisters. Amen. So
Amen.
now, if you wanted to leave us with something, I wanted to give you a few words to see what would come to mind. Maybe I'll give you like two.
Okay.
um mm, oh my gosh, I got stumped. That never happens. No. What comes to mind when you think of the women?
When I think of women, power,
Okay.
love,
Mm-hmm. Mm. Calling.
calling.
It could be a phrase. It don't have to be a word. It could be an affirmation. It could be a scripture.
Um,
Ooh, I got chills. Yeah, I'm one of those, child. I feel everything. I feel
um,
everything.
I think I would use the phrase that I used earlier. Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because with this calling, whatever your calling is, know that it does not, that oil, that,
Yeah.
ooh, that oil,
Mm.
that oil comes with, it ain't going to be easy.
Mm-mm.
And when you have to be very, very careful when you ask God for things, or when you ask God to use you, or when you ask God to stretch you or expand your territory, or because it ain't gonna be the way you think it's gonna be. And sometimes I'll be like, you know what, God, I know what I asked you for, but I don't think I want that no more.
Like I didn't see that coming.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't always come in the form in which you think it's going to come. A lot of times it does come with trial, and it comes
Mm-hmm.
with, some pain sometimes, but there's purpose in that pain. I'm not
Yes.
saying I'm not saying chase the pain. No. I'm
Right.
not
Right.
saying that. What I am saying is that oftentimes that is where we find our strength, and that is where we find our wisdom, and that's where we learn our lessons. Those are our defining moments for us. And
Absolutely.
so the calling that's on your life, don't think that it does not come without trial and tribulation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every level has a new devil, as they say.
Woo.
And that's
Man.
you better be prayed up, honey. You better be prayed up, seeking clarity on what your calling absolutely is, because you can get to a place where you start questioning, like, well, did God say that?
Did he really say that? I
Did he
don't
really
know. I
say
don't.
that though? Like,
Yeah.
he said something, but I don't know if
I
it was
don't know if it was that.
that. I don't know if it was that, chap. Because this is a lot. Okay, this is a lot for little old me. But so so if you wanted, if right now someone came in late and they're like, okay, what's Tad talking about? What would you want them to remember, coming from you? What is something you would want to leave them with?
um, I guess it would be that you were going to be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I earlier today I was asking myself a question of what would I tell my younger self,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be that you're going to be just fine. And why I say that is because everything that you went through thus far, you're still here and you're still standing and you've made it. I'm not, you might not be unscathed, but you're still here. And so when we think back to the things that we worry about and we're concerned about and we stress over, we got over those things. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would say to the person that's watching this or that just comes in that no matter what it is that you are going through, what your experience is, whether it's good or bad, because we understand that life is boom and bust cycles. Life
Right.
is highs and lows. Like if you good today, enjoy the good because know that it doesn't lack. This too shall pass. It don't
Yes.
say this too shall pass for bad things.
Right.
This too shall pass for the good seasons too. We know there are four
Absolutely.
seasons in the year, so that
Mm-hmm.
we have our seasons where we're reaping, we have our seasons where we're sowing, we have our seasons where things is going good, and we have our seasons when things are going bad.
Right.
At the end of the day, you will be okay
Yeah.
because God's got you. He
That's
did
it.
not say he's not going to set you up to fail, and the work that he it started in you, he is going to see it through. He's going to finish it. So you're
Yeah.
going to be okay. You're going to be
That's it.
okay.
I love it. It's so simple, but it means so much.
It me.
Love it. I'm telling you, you will be fine. I love it. I love it. I love it. Listen, if you are in Atlanta and you are looking for a speaker to encourage, to empower, to educate, please reach out to Tab Manning. Please reach out to her on what is it? Women Empowered
WomenEmpoweredWin.com.
Win.com. Womenempoweredwin.com. Please reach out to
Mm-hmm.
her. Everything that she explained on today. Um, the books are up there. Please support. Listen, I love her books. Oh my gosh. Please support, support, support. If you want to be encouraged, you need something to read daily just to get you that little fix before you get out the door because you know you got a crazy supervisor. Read that book, child. Read
Yes,
that book and get some empowerment before you get out of there.
that's
And be like,
it.
don't start me the devil today, devil. Period. Period.
Go
Um,
get your blessings.
get your blessings. Blessings. Blesson, honey. Um, I am so godly proud of you.
Thank you,
I am
niece.
excited for you. Keep pushing forth and, just continue to be transparent. People need what's real.
They
They
do.
really do. They've seen the other stuff. Do you understand what
Right.
I'm saying? They
And
really
they see
have.
through it. They see
Yeah,
right
they
through it.
really, really do.
So it doesn't make sense to get up and get in front of people and act like, that whole fake it till you make it thing. Like I've
Mm-mm.
never really got with that concept because I'm just like, I can't. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm very clear with my like I just can't. So
Yeah.
what you see is what you get with me.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Um that's it.
And it's too crazy out here. Like it has to be exhausting trying to figure out how to get over on people. And people, you brought up a few times with the pandemic. People went through real trauma. Don't
Yes.
don't be extra trauma, to a person who's vulnerable and who's really trying to figure out who they are and who's really trying to figure out their life.
That's right.
People are dying. People are taking their lives because they're like, I can't do this anymore. They're
Right.
like, I poured in so much of myself to this particular thing and it didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out. So they are taking their lives. And I mean people who look like you and I. And
That's right.
I'll say it again, it is what it is. We don't usually do that. And so
Right.
now this is happening to us. So
It's
we
affecting our
have to
community
we have
now.
to understand that, healing is vital right now. Having support, is it's a thing right now where, it's vital. It is vital to your life. It can cost a person their life if they don't have the right support, the love, the unity, if they don't feel like they are worthy. So, continue to push forth, in women empowerment. I visit Atlanta a lot,
You do.
probably a little more than I should, child. But if I'm out there and you have something going on, I would absolutely love to take part and, support you. Just keep doing what you are doing. And that's really it.
There's
And thank you.
definitely there's definitely a future collaboration because you're here a lot,
I
and
am.
there's gonna be some joint stuff coming through the pipeline. I can
Yeah,
already
it's
see it.
coming.
God already showed it to me. It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah,
is absolutely coming. I can't, and it's funny because I don't know. I just kept saying, Hempstead in the A. That's I don't know where it came from. At the start, I've been saying that since I've been on Facebook.
and it's a lot of us down here.
It really, really is, and I think it's so dope. And I know that it's not by happenstance. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's
And there's
absolutely
people
not
that's
by
here
happenstance.
that's doing dope stuff from Hempstead. I
Yeah,
just want to say that. Like, our class, maybe the class ahead of us, maybe the
Woo-hoo.
class below us, but like
We're
class of
dope.
97,
Yes,
we
honey.
dope. Like
Doing
there's
it.
some dope people doing
It's
some
some
dope
dope
things. So
people.
shout out to
Yes.
the class of
Shout out to
97. We
97.
ain't had a reunion yet, but you know, it is what it is, you
All
know.
right, let me call some people out while we on the subject of a reunion, because I promise you, all the people that we have that are doing amazing things, there is no way and no reason why we can't get a daggone reunion together. I'm
Yeah,
just throwing
yeah.
it out there. I know
Yeah,
Chris is out
yeah.
there, Siobhan, Kia. I know a bunch of us is out there. We need to figure this thing out. I don't know if it
I
needs to
agree.
be
It's been
out
too
there,
long. We've been
but
out of school over 24 years
yes,
now. It's too long.
it's
So
and it's
hopefully we can make it
embarrassing.
happen. It is. It
It
really
is.
is.
Everybody else done had one. I'm like, oh word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm people.
I'm gonna start bum rushing other reunions. Like class of '95, I'm coming.
It's so bad, but we really need to, because and we've also lost people. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
we really need to come together just to say, yo, we're still here, y'all.
That's
Oh, and
right.
we just so happen to be doing great things. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I feel like we
Exactly.
really do owe it to ourselves for us to get this thing together. I know a few of us have tried to do it, and life happens, but we really need to make that thing happen. Come
We
on,
gotta set.
y'all.
We gotta set
We
intentions
got
with
we
this
got to figure
thing.
this thing
Okay.
out. We got to figure this
Mhm.
thing out. Yes,
Yeah.
husband, water, please, thank you. But listen, Miss Tab Manning, thank you so much for blessing this platform. I just feel and know it's gonna be some people reaching out to you. That's because it's more. Listen, y'all, it's more people that's gonna be moving out there. But tell you right now, I know y'all heard it.
Ah.
I know
Yeah.
y'all heard it. I just spoke to a family member yesterday that moved out there, and she's like, "My sister come here." I'll just bust out laughing. I said,
It's
"Child, they gonna
we
be at the
full.
seams in Atlanta,
We
child.
full. We
They are
full.
totally full, but y'all still packing them in. But what to each his own, whatever works. But you know, we definitely got to figure out a reunion. That's what I'm basically saying. We got to figure out a
Yes.
reunion. And shout
Sounds
out to
good.
everybody from Hempstead that's doing big things. Shout out to everybody that's from Hempstead in Atlanta doing amazing things. Shout out to Ja. Trying to get him up here as well, with the sports and things.
Yes.
Chris, it's so many people. So many people that I'm just so godly proud of each and every one of you, because they always try to show Hempstead in a certain light. And
Right.
it's not all that. It's not all that.
No,
We have
it's
some
not.
dope, amazing people who have changed lives. You know what I'm saying? Who have
Exactly.
changed lives, who are changing lives. Amen.
World
Yeah,
changers, trendsetters, all of that
absolutely,
across the
absolutely,
board in various industries. So shout
absolutely,
out to
absolutely.
everyone from Hempstead and shout out to
Yeah,
you for what you're doing.
yeah. Thank
Keep
you.
allowing God to use you. I
I'm
pray
pushing.
that He continues to bless you,
I'm
your
pushing.
family, your territory, all of that.
Thank you,
So,
thank you, thank you, thank you so much, thank you so much. But yes, make sure you go to Women Empowerment.
no.
What am I saying? I'm saying it wrong again. Girl,
Yes.
say the website. What's wrong with me?
Womenempoweredwin.com. I thought I had like a sign,
Women
but I don't.
Empowered
Yes.
with a D.
Yes, so women, WOMEN, empowered. Empower with, ERD, win.com. Womenempoweredwin.com.
WIN.com. All right, look. I just bragged about us, and now I sound crazy. Like I ain't got no sense. They're like, oh, but she's dyslexic.
She's empowered with an ED.
What? What's ED, child?
Oh my
Okay, that's
gosh.
hilarious. But yes, please, everything that she is doing, and yes, please get her apparel as well. You ain't even mentioned that.
I did what now?
The apparel.
Oh, that's on pause right now. So, yeah, that's on hold temporarily.
hmm
Yeah.
But she got some cute stuff. Make sure, listen, just go visit the website, everybody,
Go
and
visit the
tap
website.
in.
Everything's on there.
Yes, everything on the website.
Womenempoweredwin.com.
That's a fact, right? What she said. What she said. That's right. That's right. Listen, Tab, I love you. Continue to do what you are doing, honey. I'm so golly proud of you, and I am excited for whatever is next for you. I know God is going to move mightily. So continue to be bold, continue to be transparent, continue to be unapologetically you, because she is my Shero. She's my
Thank
ninth Shero,
you.
y'all. This is crazy.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
I
so much.
I
Everybody,
appreciate
please
you.
subscribe to Hot Michael Lady Sheep Podcast. I'm so excited about what is next for me in reference to this platform. You will see me on all the podcast platforms very, very soon. I am getting it all
Yes.
together. God is still moving. I'm still learning. Pray for a sister. Okay?
I got
Pray
you.
for me.
Yes,
Pray for me.
ma'am. And I'm
Amen.
going to
Amen.
watch and learn so I can get my live
Yes.
going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron, honey. Iron sharpens iron. We are learning from one another. So I appreciate you so much. Continue to push forth and all that God downloads in your spirit, and understand it is about someone else. Whatever you desire to do, it is going to reach the masses. You are saving lives one by one. So continue to be the powerful Shero that you are, Tab. Love you to
Thank
pieces,
you.
honey. Love you to
Love
pieces.
you
All
too.
right, everybody that came on, thanks for the support. Kia, I see you. Vicky, I see you. Thanks, ladies. Ah, this is dope.
I was going
This
to say,
was
I
so
can't
good.
see nothing, so I don't
Oh, you
know. But
can't see it?
no, I just see
Oh.
you. I don't know what's happening.
Oh, you should see it. Should show a chat box on the side, but you may not be
Oh,
able
I
to see
think
it.
yeah, okay. I'm starting to see a
But
little
you'll
bit
you'll see
now.
it when you go on the YouTube channel. Everyone, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free. We will not be tapping into your bank account after the fact. None of that is going on. It literally is for free. So subscribe, share this live with somebody who needs to be empowered. Not just the women either, guys, because we have some men that really desire for their wives to be healed. We have some
Yes.
men that have some sisters and some mothers that they know have a gifting, and trauma is what's hindering them. So send it to somebody that you care about enough that you know that they have greatness in them and they are not tapping into that thing because of they need healing. Send this to them right now. All right. Good night.
God bless and good night. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Good night.
Good night.
Later.